Hey everyone, Oliver Alexander, founder and CEO of Prophetic, here today to discuss how AI is reshaping land acquisition. And joined today by my friends at Shea Homes. Guys, if we could introduce ourselves.
Schroeder with land acquisition here in San Diego.
Ger'rell land acquisition, Southern California.
Wonderful. So a quick run through of a couple slides here. What's important to note is the discussion today is not going to be about what can this technology do, or boy, it sure looks pretty, should we use it or not? Today we're going to keep it really focused on the data. What has Shea Homes accomplished in the last year of using Prophetic across its entire organization in the United States? The facts are pretty remarkable, frankly. Over 30,000 parcels analyzed in their first year of using the system. Several dozen users in the system across, you have folks all the way from the East Coast, West, Central, right?
Carolina to San Diego, SoCal.
Yeah, damn near the whole country. And for those who don't know, Shea is one of America's largest home builders, doing over 2,600 closings per year, last time I checked, and remains family owned for multiple generations. So pretty remarkable story. In addition to not only analyzing a ton of dirt with the Prophetic platform, they've ran hundreds and hundreds of site plans. They've skip traced hundreds and hundreds of owners, and they've engaged with a lot of these owners, whether they're off-market deals that they're hunting proactively, or winning the analysis race on an inbound land deal itself. So with that, let's go ahead and jump in today. I think where I want to start is just a more generic question of just, how has Prophetic changed your workflows and your day-to-day once it was implemented? And Dennis, we'll start with you.
For Prophetic, one of the main aspects that I think we're able to achieve with this is we're able to cross off particular parcels way earlier than we used to. We used to have to go in, analyze the parcel, see if it's a viable piece, and then put it in our offer and whatnot. Here we log into Prophetic. It's like, hey, what's the environmental look like? What's the fire look like? Are there any other hurdles? And we're like, that's not a piece for us. Let's cross that one off, go on to the next deal.
And what was the old world like? How long did that take you in the old days versus, okay, you deploy Prophetic, now we're talking, what, minutes or?
Yeah, minutes to an hour to cross something off versus, potentially a week or two in the past.
Yeah, it's just a cataclysmic shift in how things are done. And I think there's an interesting data point on this that a lot of people outside real estate development and home building don't understand, which is there's about 160 million parcels of land in the country. 98% of those are off market at any given time. So Zillow, CoStar, MLS, you name it, only about 1.5%, 2% of the land is on the market. And so if you're hunting off market, how are you scouring those effectively and getting to the bottom of a question of, is it any good or not? And if it's on market, how are you minimizing time before you know I should spend more on this or I should cut it from the herd? So I think that's a pretty remarkable change. What about you, Ger'rell?
For a day-to-day basis, I think to counter what you said, you say cross things off. A lot of times it's keeping track of deals because even if we cross it off a year or two, 6 months from now, they tend to come back. I like to call them boomerang deals. But we want to keep an eye on those deals as well, even if it's not time for us to pursue it at that point. Maybe in the future, it makes more sense as far as our business plan or our pipeline. So we at least want to keep tabs on certain opportunities so that we just don't rule it out and it doesn't catch us off guard when it does come back to our table.
Yeah, so walk me through that process. Let's say I'm the landowner, you identified my parcel as one, you reached out, voicemail, and then I give you a call back and say, Ger'rell, thanks for reaching out. I want to talk about my property at this address. What do you do from there?
So my favorite thing about Prophetic is the pipeline and being able to save project-specific information into the pipeline. So from there, usually I like to use the notes feature where I can just, usually if I'm on the phone with a broker or a land seller, I'm taking notes during the call. So to be able to save those notes into the project specifically allows me to recall any conversations that we may have had. I can usually upload either some kind of document, PDF, OM or whatnot to be able to, again, kind of refresh myself on what this deal was or what we talked about in the past. That way, when I'm on the phone, it seems like I know what I'm talking about. So.
Yeah. And it's a funny scenario to imagine, but when you start unlocking this much land off market or an on market one, either way, you suddenly have hundreds, if not thousands, of projects or parcels that you're considering. And so your ability to retrieve that information really, really fast and have an educated conversation without that owner getting off the phone and saying, these guys don't know what the hell they're talking about. I'm going to call the next one on the list.
Yeah.
Really crucial to actually winning the deal. But I think where I want to go next is just bringing the value of it to life, right? We have some stats up here. We have a year of usage on the books, but let's hear about a deal you were able to move on, whether it was something that you're in acquisition talks with now or a deal you were able to move out of your pipeline really quickly. As much specifics as you can give without giving everyone the APN to go snipe your deal. But let's hear it first from Dennis. Tell us about a deal like that.
Well, even just recently, we had a broker come to us with a potential opportunity, and we wanted to compare numbers. What can we actually build on the site? And their analysis had their assumptions. I went into Prophetic, used Site AI to lay out a site plan, lay out the biobasins, the parks, and whatnot. It was had a lot of slopes as well, so I was able to cross out that acreage. And, it helped bring them down to a level where it's a more reasonable land acquisition price. Because it's like, look, yeah, you might have 20 acres, but really only 13 of it's developable.
Yeah, and this is a story we hear all the time, right? We have a 25-acre parcel. The owner thinks it's worth 50 million, 10 million, you name it. They think it's worth the moon because it's their family land. They've owned it for a long time. And I'd probably think the same myself, frankly. But when you have Site AI, which allows you to select a parcel, you can input your stormwater ponds, open space, amenity space, avoid topo, check the zoning. You do all that within 5 minutes? 10?
Half hour.
Okay. So you run through all these different scenarios, you get the site looking good, and you click generate, and Site AI is going to put in the roads, it puts in the lots, many different home types. I think you guys did how many lot types on this one?
We did about 250
Still
different lots across 4 different product types.
So 4 different product types, 250 homes outputted, and what the end result is that you can write a realistic offer. It's no longer a thumb in the air analysis. I think it's worth this or that. So if your competition's not writing a solid offer because they're being more conservative, you can beat them. And if you're having a conversation with the landowner and you're one of 3 or 5 that are in contention for this acquisition, what we found is, and what our clients tell us, this is a trust building tool, right? I can whip up a site plan for 25 acres in this scenario, or 500 or 2,000 or 50, you name it. And when you can sit down with that landowner and say, look, here's the areas of topo we're going to have to avoid. Here's where we're going to do the stormwater ponds. And all that results in this different yield than you might have expected. Mm-hmm. They trust you. And so now you stand out from the herd as those Shea Homes guys. They talked to me in a way I understood. They showed me the parcel, and I trust them most if the offers are the same. And that, I'm curious if you felt that was kind of the impact it had as well.
Yeah, at the end of the call, their analyst was like, can we get that software?
Yeah, can put that right on the website, front page. What about you, Ger'rell? Like, do you have a real example of, a discovery of some off-market dirt or winning a deal or something like that?
Yeah. Off-market dirt is accurate. We'll put it that way. There's a deal that we're currently pursuing. It's been almost a year, so I don't know if that's current anymore, but we received an OM from a seller. I usually like to kind of take a look at the surrounding neighborhood when I get a deal, just to kind of get a feel for just how it lives and kind of marketability and whatnot. But using Prophetic, I decided to kind of throw on some search filters and criteria just to kind of see what was in the area that may be vacant or be able underutilized as well. And ended up coming across the deal. I think it was about 4 acres, vacant. Looked up who the owner was and did some skip tracing and some cold calling, and ended up getting in contact with the families who own the land. Surprisingly enough, no other builder had contacted them. I said, well, my name's Ger'rell, I work with Shea Homes, and we're interested. So we were able to get them an LOI. They're still trying to figure out what they want to do with the property. The kids are the ones who are overseeing it. Their parents were land investors, go figure. Right. And they passed away, but they had a decent amount of land in their portfolio. So not only are we having conversations with them about that particular parcel, but any other parcels they may have that would fit any categories we would use for any type of home development.
I love that example because we have an inbound lead from a broker, a trusted partner, and to be clear, this technology is a great way to get deals done faster, but it doesn't have to eliminate your brokers, right? You can cut down your broker fees and go hunt off market more. And we have clients who are doing more off market sourcing and then getting the price of the land down because they're not in a competitive bidding process. But at the end of the day, use the inbound lead and saw that as an opportunity to say, what else can I find in this vicinity? And I think if I recall, one of your favorite layers is the assemblage layer, right?
Yeah, exactly.
So tell me how you use that.
So again, Southern California, if we're looking for infill deals, a lot of times they may not reach the threshold as far as acreage goes of something we'd be interested in. But being able to use that assemblage feature, which allows you to see other parcels that are owned by the same seller, allows you to kind of pinpoint ways that you can do more of a assembly deal or assemblage where you can eliminate just trying to pursue a half an acre deal and be able to maybe buy 2 or 3 more parcels, expand that project, get the unit count that you want to have, and then be able to actually have a feasible deal.
Love that.
Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the power of this technology, right? Sure, I can see it's John Smith and John Smith that own the same neighboring parcels. That's easy. But when I have Smith Family Trust and 123 LLC and all these other entities, being able to link them through advanced analysis of that ownership on the back end, that's what the assemblage layer does. And it pays dividends because one phone call turns into multiple parcels. But thanks for the examples there, guys. Let's talk about hype versus value. You guys are a little unique in that you've been using the Prophetic system at an enterprise level nationally for the last year. What differentiates a real valuable product that's actually driving outcomes versus hype in your opinion?
It comes down to usage. How much do you use it? Across all of our divisions, we're on it almost daily.
Yeah.
And when you use a product that much, then, and based off of what the cost is, we're more than getting our money's worth out of it.
Yeah, I agree with that. And it also comes down to one, the usage is the value there, but 2, is it intuitive and easy to pick up? So this is, over a year ago now, but what was the onboarding and training process like?
We had, basically for the first month and a half, we had regularly scheduled trainings. We actually tested the software for a few weeks, even before that, so we're somewhat familiar with it. Then once we signed up, the weekly meetings, just to make sure everybody's using it, for its intended purposes, even though it has a wide breadth of intended purposes. But make sure that we're actually getting our money's worth and not just buying something and shelving it.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I would talk with home builders way back in the research and diligence phase of building Prophetic, and they would say, well, I have a subscription to this product, but I don't know my login, I don't really use it. And that to me was such a green light of this space is wide open for this new technology to come and change how this industry works. But it's not just about the new tech, it's about that usability and designing it with an end user in mind. And so we're very hands-on with the deployment and the training to make sure that, let's actually close some off-market land instead of saying, I'm 10% faster or something. What about you, Ger'rell? How would you say, how do you differentiate a hype product versus real value if they're both talking AI?
Dennis said, usability. I would say efficiency.
Yeah.
I use other AI platforms that may take me hours, and those hours don't mean that I like using it for hours. It's just taking me that long to get the output that I'm looking for. So I wouldn't measure it based off of usability because for time, I can get more out of Prophetic in a shorter amount of time, and it's more accurate than 3 hours using this LLM, and I'm still challenging it because it's telling me everything that I'm saying is a great idea, but it's giving me the wrong answer.
Yeah. Well, your ideas are all great, though, to be clear. And I think that's a key thing to keep an eye out for in this industry is, every VC dollar in the world is flowing into AI. Home building and real estate development is a huge industry. Therefore, everyone will have a fancy AI website. They probably built it using AI. But at the end of the day, if you're using an enterprise-grade vertical software solution, for real estate development, home building, you name it, and a lot of your work is just coming down to interacting with a chatbot, it's effectively Claude or ChatGPT, right? That's not a real enterprise solution. So a good example of like how we came around this problem, because in our early studies, that was what we found as well. People don't want to chat with a zoning bot to try and extract the correct information. So we just went out and said, I guess we're going to have to boil the ocean, and collected over 20,000 municipalities' zoning maps and the manuals, and then built a proprietary system called Zone AI that rips the guts out and then just puts it on the parcel. So how do you get to the zoning intel now? Either one of you.
So other than Prophetic,
Using Prophetic, how do you get into that info?
you click on the parcel that you're looking at, and over on the right-hand side, it just pops up. There's the zoning. You can dive into it deeper, all the property information, and whether or not that's the residential zoning that you need. Basically dive into it. There's other buttons to pull up the municipal code. So,
yeah, and that ease of use is so key there, because we look at a 5-minute window as a really key design metric. If I call you and say, hey, I've got a good lead, I'm going to call 10 other people in my network for land acquisition afterwards. So we really try and get you an answer of the zoning, the environmental conditions in that 5-minute window. So you can literally just click the parcel and all that information is extracted ahead of time. And then you can search against it. And so I know this varies a ton between the California markets, which are much more broker-led and a bit more word of mouth, versus folks in the Carolinas with Shea are using search like crazy. Curious your guys' experience using search or lack thereof or anything like that.
I use the search feature probably once or twice a week.
Nice.
We get a lot of deals brought to us, like you said, from brokers. But based off our current business model, a lot of those deals want to close within the year. We're looking for more long-term opportunities right now, which leads us down the path of more entitlement opportunities, which then segues into using the search feature a lot more, which I think has a lot of functionality to it. And again, being able to use some of the additional layers helps eliminate good deals from other bad deals. And again, the zoning information all at your fingertips is pretty resourceful.
Yeah, it's good to hear. And the search AI, it's hard to overstate how powerful it is. Like, obviously, I'm quite passionate about this. I could talk about this at length. But the fact that you can just click single family detached as a search type and then input, 15,000 square foot maximum lot size, like don't show me 1 acre minimums. And you can search across 500 municipalities at once across 7 counties and 2 state lines. That's just never been possible before. And so now that it is here, there's just an unfair playing field. So I think that's probably my next question for either of y'all is, is this table stakes or is this a nice to have? And, how do you see that?
can't imagine going back.
Yeah.
Going back and trying to search the multitude, the tens of websites and getting reports and whatnot and spending all those hours versus having it at your fingertips.
Yeah. Incredibly arduous process and just fraught with opportunities of error. And ultimately, we're not talking seeing the value in 3 years when the home gets delivered. We're seeing the value because you win the deal, right? But what about you, Ger'rell?
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this often, but being able to do things more efficiently rather than manually is the word that I'll use. Using spreadsheets and paper and pens.
Yeah.
It's just for the sake of time and convenience. I think it makes more sense to continue to use Prophetic. We tend to deal with something in home building called deal merge, and I think using Prophetic can help kind of keep those lines separate. Deal merge, for anyone who doesn't know us, you're working on so many deals that they start to merge together and you don't know which deal you're talking about. Like, I forget if this was that deal or this deal. Again, Prophetic allows you to kind of keep that separation and stay on point. Yeah.
Absolutely. Okay, a couple more questions here. I think, Dennis, when we were chatting ahead of time, you said you've been approached by a bunch of different platforms in the past several years. Why did Shea go with Prophetic? What kind of guided the decision, in your opinion?
We were approached about 1.5 years ago, and at that point, we were looking at several different platforms, but it's just going back to the ease of use.
Yeah.
The platform itself, going into the software, the system, and then you gave us an opportunity to test it.
Sure.
And some of the guys out there aren't doing that.
Yeah.
So we fell in love with it, and we took it up to our corporate team where they were able to analyze it. And from that, we decided as a company to subscribe.
Sure. Yeah, I appreciate that. The usage is key. Like I just gave a speech recently at ULI in I think North Carolina. But that was one of the questions is like, how do you flush out, is this company saying they're offering this thing legit or not? The website looks great. The sales rep is a smooth talker. One, get your hands on it. You got to test it. You got to test it in your markets. Two, ask to speak to the technical talent. If you have technical talent that can speak to theirs, that's great. Otherwise, if they can't put them on the phone with you, bit of a red flag. Is there that much technical talent there? And then ask to speak who the expert is, because real estate data is imperfect, always, by nature. The counties do not record information correctly sometimes. They might have a lag in the data. This is just inherently true at scale in the United States. So really what it comes down to is, are they going to show up for you and fix stuff when it needs to be fixed? And that partnership approach has been crucial as well. So on that note, do you feel like the team is Prophetic, has solved issues, showed up for features as needed? What's that been like?
Yes, absolutely. So one of the great things about Prophetic is their willingness to listen to feedback. Put in several enhancement requests over the past year. The most recent, we put it in, like 3 weeks ago, and within 2 weeks, it was implemented into the software. Good. And it was a very simple. It was like, hey, can I get an extra filter on this so I could, look at my projects a little different. So, and you're always looking for improvements within software as well. That's one of the constant messages we get from our monthly meetings.
Yeah, there's a certain industry incumbent platform that's been around like 20 years. I won't mention them by name, but everyone probably knows what it is. I go to their Apple App Store sometimes in a sales demo if we're like, oh, we're considering you and the old one. I say, great, do you want a partner that innovates and stays ahead of the curve? I was like, yeah, of course. Okay, we bring up the App Store, last updated 2019. That doesn't work. That doesn't work, in today's day and age. Ger'rell, are you a mobile user? Are you on the mobile app much?
Not much. Okay. Yeah, I haven't been out in the field as much as I should be, sure. But I've heard it's pretty useful.
Yeah, we have like a tours feature we rolled out. So you can take all your projects, let's say you're going to see 7 in Riverside County or something, and just click go, and it'll navigate you to all your acquisition sites and get you back at home. Yeah. So recommend that one. Yeah. It's pretty fun. But we're coming up on time here, but I think, what I'd be curious to hear from both of you is, what would you want folks to know? What do you want to stick when it comes to using AI in home building or using Prophetic in general? Like, if you could take away one thing, what would you tell folks?
If you're one of my competitor home builders, stay away.
I like that one. How about you, Ger'rell?
That's a tough act to follow.
Yeah, that's pretty tough.
I think a lot of it is it's what you're looking for. Know what you're looking for. I mean, if you want to be able to get a result, start with the end in mind. So work backwards. Prophetic is, I call it a Swiss Army knife. You can use it for almost anything. So whatever your goal is on trying to utilize it, start there and work your way to the mouse button.
Love that. Yeah. Well, guys, I appreciate you joining me on stage here today and taking time out of your busy schedules. Let's give a hand to Dennis and Ger'rell for joining us.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Yeah.